This episode is brought to you ad-free thanks to all of our wonderful patrons. You can get tons of exclusive content and help us keep the show going by joining at patreon.com/shonenflop. And welcome to this episode of Shonen Flop, where we talk about manga and Shonen Jump that didn't make it big. I'm David.
I'm Jordan.
Next week, we'll be covering Temaku Cinema. If you'd like to read along with us, be sure to join the discussion in our Discord and submit your 6-word summary. Find a link to the Discord in our episode description and on our website, shonenflop.com.
Next week is finally going to be fucking Kino. You can actually use that word.
Yes.
And I won't get as angry at you.
Oh, goodness. But this week we are talking about Cyborg Grandpa-G, and we are joined by our guest, Maddie. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us.
Hold on, David. You said the name wrong. It is Cyborg Grandpa-G.
You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't work. I'm not a death metal singer like you. So
That was not death metal. What the fuck, David?
Listen, I'm jet lagged. All right, Maddie, though, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no problem. I thought you said my name wrong, so I thought I was going to get a cool introduction, but I guess not.
Now you have to. Jordan.
Maddie! There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Maddie. My username people might know me by is othatsraspberry. I feel like your listeners might know me from the One Piece podcast, them for a few years, but I'm also known for like Metal Gear comics on Twitter, and I work at the video game company Grasshopper Manufacture.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Which is awesome. I believe they are very closely associated with Suda 51.
I was just going to say.
He is my boss, yes.
That's amazing.
Now, I've heard you have to wrestle him as part of the interview process.
Well, you have to fight him, which can mean whatever, but I did baseball bat. That was my choice. I won, so that's why I got my job.
What's he like? Exactly. I can't even imagine how Suda 51 is in real life.
He's cool. He's definitely one of those guys who's very authentic. He obviously has a persona when he's like in public. Like he's very much what you would expect. He's very cool and yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
I just love how he was in the Devolver Digital E3 conference, which are always like massive shit posts. And I think he played like a robot or something.
Yeah. He's just like whatever. He does whatever. Nobody can control him.
I love it. Now that's Kino.
That's why he's so good. David, shut up. I have to get angry every time David says Kino.
I don't even know what that means.
Exactly.
We've got an hour and 10 minutes, so that's almost enough time to explain it. So Kino is the highest form of cinema. So essentially, movies are to cinema. Cinema is to Kino. So, that's what Kino.
Can you give me like an example?
Oh, God.
Everything Martin Scorsese makes is Kino.
Okay, I was going to say Back to the Future. I don't know. That's my highest form of cinema.
Actually, no joke. My wedding, our walk-on song is Power of Love, and we're going to have our guest book be signing the album.
Oh, my God.
From Huey Lewis and the News.
That's really cute and also extremely nerdy.
Yeah, isn't it? It's going to be great. I have to say, I saw the Broadway musical of Back to the Future, and it's pretty good, I have to say, by the way.
Oh, that sounds fun. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, it's really good if you have a chance to go to New York. I unironically really enjoyed it. All right, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Cyborg Grandpa-G. So let's dive in and hear from Jordan some of these manga details. I can already tell this is going to be a really fun episode.
So this is written by a little guy named Takeshi Obata. Here he is credited as Shigeru Hijikata. Some notable people they were an assistant for was Ryuji Sugihara on Super Patrol, Makoto Niwano on The Momotaro, which I think is a Japanese folktale. I don't know what that's about though.
It's about a little baby that comes out of a peach.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh.
Because it's Momo like Peach and Taro like the boy's name, so it's Momotaro. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then he like collects all these animal friends with dumplings and stuff.
Excuse me, Jordan. When we're talking Japanese, it's kawaii.
Anyway, that's adorable, and that sounds exactly like 5 anime I've seen. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Notable people they had as assistants were, oh god, Nobuhiro Watsuki. Oh god.
Tugging my collar.
Yeah. Rurouni Kenshin, also a convicted pedophile.
That was
Ash.
God.
Not him, but...
No, Kenshin is not a convicted pedophile, but the guy who wrote...
Not that we know of.
Well, that's true. Well, they didn't convict him as far as I know. But anyway, fuck Watsky. He had him as an assistant on Arabian Majin Bokantan Lamp and Rikijin Densetsu. Anyway, he also had as an assistant Yusuke Murata of Ice Shield 21 and One Punch Man.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's some good shit. He had him as an assistant on Hikaru no Go. Fuck yeah. A Ando. Hey, Maddie, you speak Japanese. Is that A Ando?
A, yeah. A.
Ando of One Piece Party. Wow. He worked on One Piece? Blah, ha, ha, ha. No. He had him on Hikaru no Go. He also had Kentaro Yabuki of Ayakashi Triangle / To Love Ru. Ryu Ogawa of ya boy, Kongming. Yo, it's ya boy, Kongming.
I don't know the manga, but the anime has like one of the greatest openings.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's a super bop. Definitely check it out.
I'll have to do that. And he had Yoshiyuki Nishi of Muyo and Roji and David Bokusan.
God.
One of the worst manga we've ever read on this fucking show.
Oh, God. Because bokeh is like the comedy bokeh?
This is like about like spirits. It's like kind of like about yokai.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know it was like Manzai, which is like the Japanese comedy where it's like the funny guy and the straight man.
Mm-mm.
And bokeh is like one of the roles, but okay.
That would have been a much more interesting concept than what Bokusan was about.
I did not pick up on any of that in Bokusan. The main thing I remember is that it made no sense and was a pain in the ass to get through.
Like, when was it written?
God, I can check. Give me a second.
Man. I'm like fascinated because it sounds like it was really awful.
It was really bad.
So the guy who made it quit and now exclusively creates like VTuber art. 2008 is when it came out.
I like looked at the cover and that's an art style.
Yes, it is. It is indeed in art style.
The most arts of all time.
Yeah. And by the way, almost all these guys, as I mentioned earlier, were assistants on Hikaru no Go, which let's go into his other works, which include Hikaru no Go.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Wow.
Deathnote.
I've heard of that.
Bakuman, Platinum End. I don't know that.
In School Judgment.
Yeah, he worked on School Judgment. Oh, God.
So School Judgment is notable, Maddie, because we had Zach on from One Piece Podcast, and it got so bad he refused to finish it.
Oh.
It wasn't because of the quality. He morally objected to finishing it because of some very, I guess I'll just blunt and say it, very explicitly.
The manga sexualizes like 12-year-olds.
Oh, that sucks.
It was very uncomfortable to read. And we had because it was just published in Jump. Like, there's no disclaimer or anything. It's just treated like a normal Jump manga.
You find it on the Shonen Jump app.
It was officially translated. You can read on the Viz app.
That's so weird.
Right?
Because Zach's a lawyer. So we're like, oh, let's talk about it. And they're like, yeah, Zach, this is fine. We don't have to keep reading this.
Yeah, we didn't know that it was going to get that bad.
Did you actually do an episode about it? And it was just like everyone was miserable?
Yeah, it's actually episode 49 of our show.
Wow. Okay. I feel, poor Zach.
I know. He's on our short list of people I want to have back so we can read something not offensive with him.
Get him on something good, please. He deserves it.
Zach, if you're listening, we're going to try and get you back on the show at some point.
Yes, that was unfair. Anyway, Obata also works on Showa Shonen, which...
Translated by friend of the show, Stephen Paul.
That's true. We were talking about how that's a really difficult series to translate because it's about Japanese stand-up comedy.
Yeah. MaxyBee is like for context, Maddie, we have a manga historian called MaxyBee, and he is like, this is the guy, like when it comes to manga. So he has like a bunch of extra trivia that he was very excited to tell us about. So Jordan, do you mind telling us about it?
Oh.
Yeah, so on September 6, 2006, Obata was arrested for illegal possession of an 8.6 centimeter knife.
Which is like 3 inches. That's really small.
Yeah, that's not that big.
Like, is the whole knife that big or just the blade? It's like really funny if you imagine it's just like a 3-inch knife.
Yeah. It's like a box cutter.
Sir, do you have a knife in your car?
How do you even find it? Yeah. But yeah, he was pulled over in Tokyo for driving with his car's headlights off at 12:30 a.m. And he claimed that he kept the knife in his car for when he goes camping. To be honest, a 3-inch knife, I can't imagine like it being that useful for, I guess, stabbing or camping. It just doesn't sound that useful.
Yeah, it's like you could like maybe cut like a piece of string.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of those, I don't know. I mean, that just sounds like a crime in Japan because it's very mild.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the cop was looking for a reason to arrest him.
It sounds like he forgot to turn his lights on and then they happened to see he had a little knife, which, okay.
See, this is the kind of low stakes criminal activity I'm fine with for mangaka versus the other people we've discussed before.
Yeah, speaking of Watsky.
I don't even know knife laws. I mean, you can have kitchen knives, which are bigger than that, so I don't know why you can't have...
Can you have them in your car, though?
Maybe not.
Maybe you're not allowed to travel with knives.
Maybe it's too small. Maybe your knife has to be bigger than that.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's the Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife rule, you know?
Oh, God. And then, Jordan, you might tell us the rest of this review?
Yeah, I'll give you some more. Alongside of serializations, Obata has also made several high-profile one-shots with collaborators such as Masanori Morita of Hello Baby, Hey Baby, Nisio Isin of a bunch of manga I've never heard of, including Ouroboros, and Otsuichi of Hajime, which I don't know. Among Obata's many accolades are the Tezuka Award, Shogakukan Manga Award, Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize, an Eagle Award, and topping the prestigious Kono Manga ga Sugoi rankings in 2010 with Bakuman. Also, at one point, in a one-off event in Shonen Jump, Bobobo parodied Deathnote, and Obata parodied Bobobo. And I actually really would like to read that.
Sounds pretty great.
And yeah, his collected works have sold well in excess of 70 million copies in Japan alone. This guy, kind of a legend.
Are you guys familiar with his other work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm totally not. I mean, kind of. Like, I've read, like, a volume of Deathnote and, like, a volume of Hikaru no Go, but that's it.
I actively read Shoha Shoten, actually.
Oh, cool.
Didn't he do Dr. Stone?
No.
Very different.
He's actually the creator of Dr. Stone, is one of the most prominent non-Japanese artists working in manga. He's Korean.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, Bachi, I think. Yeah, so he's actually a South Korean artist, and I think he actually doesn't speak Japanese fluently.
Wow, that's even more impressive.
His art is extremely good and produce it weekly. You can see why they work with him. I would be actually curious how many mangaka in Shonen Jump are not Japanese besides him.
Huh.
I would say 0.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Yeah, but to wrap things up, Jordan, you might spit fire in these publishing details.
A lot of manga details. Let's get into the publishing aspect. This ran from May 2nd, 1989 to November 28th, 1989. 31 chapters, 4 volumes. That was reprinted as 2 volumes. The series it replaced was Tsuide ni Tonshinkan, which was apparently an 18-volume hit. And the series that replaced it was Ace by Yoichi Takahashi of Captain Tsubasa fame. The series started at the same time as it was Hayato 18 Banshobu and Scrap, that's all capitals, Sandayu by Yude Tamago. Yeah! Kinnikuman. I love Kinnikuman.
Oh, Yude Tamago is such a great name.
I know.
I just want to be boiled egg. What a great thing to be.
Right. So his name means boiled egg?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, God, that's awesome. Yeah, so we're done talking about the details. So let's hear what actually goes on in Cyborg Grandpa-G.
All right, let's start talking about the subject of this episode. The Kaizo family woke up with a shock one morning to discover that their grandpa had turned himself into a cyborg. He is now Cyborg Grandpa-G, an elite farming cyborg fueled by methane gas and a fierce hatred of crows. After using his new cyborg weaponry and machine gun scarecrows to defeat the evil mayor of their town, Grandpa decides to move everyone to Tokyo to start anew, and they're not allowed to object to it. Their lives are out of their control. Grandpa just fucking controls everything. The family tries to adjust to their new place, with Kay and I, the younger brother and older sister, starting school. Grandpa's insane controlling nature unfortunately results in them becoming cool delinquents. Meanwhile, Grandpa's old nemesis, Dr. Sharakube, has re-emerged to try to take over the world, but cannot stop the extreme power of Grandpa's cyborg farting body with his shitty son Inasaku creeping on Ai. He sucks. I hate him.
Yes.
He's the worst. Kay wants a dog, so Grandpa builds Gantetsu, a really ugly old cyborg dog, and Sharakube puts out a bounty on Grandpa for 5 million yen and a year's supply of orange juice. The whole town starts coming after Grandpa because they want that fucking juice. And he, literally kills a bunch of them?
Yeah, people just die a lot in the series.
That's fine.
They say he just annihilated half the town. The bounty calls out Cyborg Hunter Z, or Zeto as they call him, who was so upset at being unable to watch a cyborg anime when he was a little kid that he dedicated his life to fighting them. However, never actually seen a cyborg, because they're kind of rare. And after Grandpa defeats him, he decides to live in Gontetsu's doghouse and join the cast. Popcorn David.
Grandpa soon decides to bring his wife back, and while he initially tries to bring her back as a beautiful 20-year-old self, Genetsu pushes a button that resurrects her as an old lady with saggy breasts that are just going to be out there for the rest of the manga. I really can't believe he really was dedicated to that.
They're just there the whole time.
Yeah.
God. Well, how times change.
They love jokes with that.
Oh my god.
She is Cyber Metal Iron Grandma Q, who loves heavy metal and plays a BC Rich Warlock, the most metal of all guitars. I had no idea, but that sounds like a pretty badass guitar.
Oh yeah, it is like the metal guitar. Fuck yeah. It's even got a Floyd Rose. Sorry, let's keep going.
A giant senile monster named Jijira has attacked Tokyo, sucking up the youthful energy of the young. Oh, sounds like the typical old person.
Right?
Grandma and Grandpa fight back, using Genetsu's transformation to steal it back and become their young hot versions. All three, they transform back almost immediately. After this, Grandpa gains the ability to turn into his young self for 30 seconds at a time, and Grandma modifies her body to be young again. All three, she turns back to her old self when she gets surprised. It was kind of ambiguous. They say there's like a musical note, but that didn't make sense what triggered it.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like an emotion thing.
Yeah.
It was like if she hears a specific high-pitched sound that relates to heavy metal, she turns back into Grandma.
Yeah, it was a little strange. At one point, Kay gets a friend who's a giant delinquent rhinoceros beetle who fights a giant stag beetle, and that's pretty cool. And man, shout out to Moriking, which is essentially if that chapter was an entire manga in itself.
Oh, check that out, because that was literally my favorite chapter of this whole series, so...
Morking is super good, and it has a bunch of it's a gag action manga. It's probably in our top 5 favorite series.
Yeah, that series rules. High recommend.
Cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Luke. They fight an Italian stereotype who loves golden spaghetti. And when UK and I's mother discover that Ichiro, their father, may be cheating on her close to their anniversary, they get in a big fight. Popcorn Maddie.
Grandpa makes a super youth regeneration potion to turn her back into her young self, which will make Eiichiro love her again, but Yu refuses and talks about how she wants to have the love of 15 years. Eiichiro hears this and they reconcile. But when they throw the youth generation potion away, Shade Kobe, who is just chilling in the trash can, gets it and turns back into his own young hot self. The mayor from Chapter Run.
So he could just make this anytime. Grandpa could just make this fucking youth regeneration potion. And it's like no big deal.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, I guess. But he is continuously upset that his wife is old. I'm sorry. Keep interrupting. You keep going. I'm sorry.
Nah, you're good. You're good. All right. The mayor from Chapter 1 returns, having now become their cyborg landlord. Grandpa fights him, and he reveals that Shade Kobe transformed him to defeat Grandpa. Shade Kobe kidnaps Grandma, who, as a reminder, is also young and hot now, and declares that he will take her for himself. Get a flashback to 50 years ago where Shade Kobe and Grandpa were scientists in World War II.
Yep.
Shade Kobe wanted to create an evil cyborg army, while Grandpa wanted to make a bunch of cyborg farmers. Grandma was Shade Kobe's fiance, but leaves him for Grandpa, which drove Shade Kobe insane. Grandpa quickly defeats the landlord mayor using the power of cigarettes before defeating
Am I wrong?
Oh, okay, sorry. No,
He does.
Just reading this all in one paragraph is kind of a lot.
The series was kind of a lot, honestly.
Yeah. Before defeating Cyborg Shade Kobe despite him using the destructive power of horrible farts. Everyone reverts to their senior forms, and the Kaizo family wakes up the next day to discover that Grandpa has forcibly transformed them all into cyborgs.
Jesus
The
Christ.
end.
And the adventure continues.
The adventure continues, except it doesn't.
Did not.
Yep.
Oh,
God.
man.
All right, let's dig into the characters. Maddie, will you do us the honor of telling us a bit about the grandpa?
So Grandpa, his real name is Tokijiro Kaizo, and he's known as Ji-chan, which is basically Grandpa. And that's also part of the pun, right?
Yeah.
Because it's cyborg. It's in Japanese, it's cyborg Ji-chan-ji. So it's Ji-chan, but the pun also works in English because you have the G for Grandpa, so that's pretty cool. It could be localized if it really wanted to. Anyway, he is a motherfucking cyborg. Isn't he more of a grandmotherfucking cyborg?
Oh, that's true. God. Fuck, this is what happens when you got a professional in the house like that. He's such a crazy bastard.
He is a psycho, but also
he loves farming.
He does. He loves farming so much.
He's like, I'm going to be a cyborg, not like, I mean, a normal reason you would be a cyborg. He's just like, I want to farm real good.
I mean, of course, it leads to him fighting because he, of course, in his quest to become a good farming cyborg, I guess he wanted to kill crows. So he gave himself a ton of weapons, which, you know, that makes sense.
And also made like scarecrows with guns in them.
Yeah.
And then one fell in love with a human in a chapter that was not worth putting in the plot summary.
No, I like that one.
It was good.
It was not a bad chapter, it just wasn't plot relevant.
It was also messed up on the website because all the pages were like out of order.
Yeah.
But I do like his cyborg grandpa, how he will just like he'll like try to help people and then he just turns them into robots and then they just like destroy everything.
Yeah, like there's one moment where like an old lady skins her elbow and he just gives her a new arm. Yeah. He doesn't ask before he does any of this shit, by the way. He just does it.
Oh, yeah. He turned his entire family into cyborgs overnight.
Yeah.
He took out a kid's brain in his grandson's like middle school classroom. Just took out his brain and replaced it with like a robot brain.
Have you guys seen that famous Spider-Man comic where it's like a guy where Peter Parker is like, you have super DNA technology, you could be curing cancer and stuff, and it's like a dinosaur man, but he's like, yeah, but I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the plot of the original Mario movie.
It is.
Okay, but to move on, speaking of mad scientists, Jordan, do you mind telling us about Dr. Shirakube?
Dr. Shirakube, he kind of sucks as an evil scientist. It's pretty funny, actually.
But he was such a baddie when he was younger.
Yo, he was hot as a kid.
Everyone in this was hot. It's
Everyone.
just like, hey, I think that's like part of the plot. It's like, just so you know, all your grandparents used to be hot.
Basically.
You know, it happens though, right? Whenever you like first see like a picture of your grandparents and you're like, wait, you still look like this?
I really like how Obata included these like transformation shots, like almost like an Animorphs type thing where it's like, so this is how Shirakube went from being young and hot to how he is right now. And you see like the middle transformations.
Yeah, like little explanations, yeah.
I like how his grandson looks like his old person form instead of looking like him when he was young.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he'll change when he hits like 20 because he's like 13 now.
Yeah, puberty's going to do wonders to him.
Yeah, puberty's going to save him.
Yeah, I do love how he is the embodiment of, what is the word? Chingdogu? I probably said that completely bad. Are you guys familiar with that?
Nope.
I saw you type it and I looked it up and then I forgot what it meant.
So Chindogu, it's kind of like an engineering joke where people make interesting but useless inventions. Like I remember one was like, it was a hat that had like a roll of toilet paper. So when you blew your nose, you would always have it accessible to you.
I feel like in the early 2000s, there was this book called Unuseless Japanese Inventions, which had a bunch of those. It's very much of the like, isn't Japan weird? And it was like presenting these things like they weren't jokes, but they're obviously jokes. So
one invention that actually blew up that was created was the selfie stick.
Oh, that's funny.
But part of Chingdogu is you cannot patent your inventions. So that person was like, oh, fuck, I probably could have made millions of dollars from inventing the selfie stick.
Bummer.
That just reminds me of like this famous art piece where they were trying to make useless inventions and it's just like a fuzzy teacup, like a teacup like covered in like fuzzy carpet.
Is it fuzzy on the inside?
Yes.
Oh.
Don't use it. It's an art piece. That's the point. Yeah.
I see.
So also the doctor's a huge pervert, as is Grandpa actually.
Oh yeah. No, they're all perverts.
I mean, it's very of that era, right?
Yeah.
The pervy humor.
If there is one thing that I've learned from manga, it's that all old men are disgusting perverts.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fair. Oh man. And also all old women are also kind of absolutely crazy. So I'll dive into Grandma Q. So it's kind of weird how it said in the first chapter she disappeared mysteriously, but I guess they completely dropped that element because he's like, oh yeah, I had her brain this whole time.
Yeah.
He just pickled her brain.
Yeah, I guess you just kind of changed the mind on that one. I was like, ooh, mystery, and then it's like, just kidding.
Yeah, she is great. She loves metal now because her robot process got fucked up. I think it is funny how she kind of, it's like a Ranma 1/2 where I guess, yeah, when she gets turned emotional, she turns back into an old lady. But again, they're robots, so I don't really understand how any of this works, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a humor manga, so it's, don't think about it too hard.
Yeah. Did you guys have any additional thoughts on Grandma Q?
Yes. So Grandma Q, if there's another thing that we know about old people is that they shit themselves all the time. And that is what she does when she first appears, like immediately. Also, Grandma Q, of course, look, since they're an old straight couple, Grandma and Grandpa hate each other. Like,
boomer humor, yeah.
As they absolutely do.
Don't you hate your wife?
Yeah, wife bad.
Don't you hate your wife? Oh, my wife is awful.
Didn't you get married under duress?
Oh, God. It's like so awful. Just get a divorce, guys. You clearly are terrified of each other. You're terrified of your wife. Just, you don't have to live like this, guys.
Oh, man. Speaking of terrible things, why don't we dive into why it failed? So, Jordan, as we were shitting on old people, why don't you keep this up by shitting on this manga? So tell us, what were some things you didn't like about it?
These chapters are too long.
Yeah.
They kill the joke a lot of the time.
That was my big thing, is this should have been like 12 to 15 page chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it struggles with trying to have complex plots while being basically a gag manga. And so it's like, what are you really going for?
Yeah, there's only one manga I've really ever read that is a gag manga that really is able to have complex plots. And Jordan, can you guess what manga I'm going to say?
Hey, Gravity Boys?
No, Witch Watch.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fucking great series.
That's more of like a sitcom than just a straight up gag manga, though. I think that's why it works. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, but I completely agree. It's just like the joke is funny at first, and then you're like, you keep doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of episodic, but it's like the plot of most chapters is like, here's a problem, here's the funny way it gets handled by Cyborg Grandpa with funny robot technology. You just can't do a whole lot with that after a time.
Because every single punchline isn't Grandpa zany, which I can see working, but it's like I can't read 22 pages of Grandpa literally kind of making the same joke at least 3 or 4 times in the same chapter.
There's a handful of chapters. I actually, surprisingly, like the 2-parter Godzilla parody, I thought was one of the best ones. Yeah. And it was like just the jokes about like old Godzilla were really funny. Like it's like, oh, he like uses Tokyo Tower as a walking stick. And, like it was just very silly. And like it was like, oh, Godzilla's coming, and then he's just like old Godzilla. And I like that one. So yeah, there were like a few standout chapters, but like I would say like 80% of it's like totally forgettable though.
I would agree.
Yeah, I also think not related to the humor or the pacing is none of the characters besides Grandpa really have there's zero character development, really.
No.
Yeah, I thought, because like so the first chapter, I'm like, okay, like what are they going to do with this? Like, where can you go with this plot? And then the next couple chapters where it's like, oh, both the kids turn into delinquents, I was like, okay, that's funny.
I liked that.
And then you have like the scientist thing going on in the background, which gives some plots. But I think as far as characters go, I thought Zeto was like one of the best characters as far as having kind of drive and personality.
But he like rarely shows up, which is a shame.
Yeah, because I feel like whenever he comes up, it's usually funny because he's just kind of a loser. And he's like supposed to be a cyborg hunter, but he like actually just wants to be a cyborg. Yeah. And then just the fact that he lives in their doghouse, he's just kind of like hanging out there sometimes. Like, okay.
Yeah. And he made like a cyborg suit out of like kitchen utensils and it still works. Like,
his like cod piece is a little kettle, so he has like a little kettle dick, and it's really funny.
I love the designs in this series, honestly.
Yeah, but we're talking about why we don't like it right now.
I'll get into something about that.
None of that.
Sometimes Grandpa is such an asshole that it goes from me finding it funny to me just hating him. Again, it's because these chapters just go so long, they have to like repeat the same joke over and over again, where Grandpa is just like very controlling of his granddaughter. He has to like kind of stalk her on a date.
I think part of that is it kind of suffers from the era a bit as well. Mm-hmm. Just because, like late 80s Japan had issues.
there's just no respect for body autonomy. And I feel like that really embodies the fact that this is a gag manga that has a chapter where you literally see attempted date rape in it. And it's such like a tonal whiplash where it's like, definitely manga can talk about things, but I feel like it doesn't handle it very well. And it doesn't really even take it that seriously.
It's like that issue of like, oh, this was a thing you could joke about in 1989. Obviously, it was not appropriate, but like you could get away with it. And now it's just kind of like, that's gross.
Yeah. Also, I think my last thing is I feel like the series really struggled that it was trying not to be Dr. Slump. And Dr. Slump left such a big shadow that I feel a lot of these issues are because he was like, I can't do anything that Dr. Slump is trying to do, like with the character setting. And so he's like, well, Dr. Slump focuses more on the supporting cast than Dr. Slump. Let's make it where it's all about zany robot dad. And that's where you can see it's just like he really didn't have enough material in this kind of topic without, especially at this point when Dr. Slump was really big, to feel like he could do his own thing.
So I have a question. Is this the only manga that Obata has written as well as illustrated? Because like everything else he does after this, he's just the illustrator, right?
I don't know.
I believe that is the case.
That's crazy.
Because it's so interesting because I feel like he, everything after this, Deathnote, Bakuman, etc., are a little like more serious, obviously. And so it's interesting to see that he started writing this gag manga. And I think he's a lot more successful at humor than he is at plots. And I mean, I'm a simpleton who like laughs at fart jokes very easily. And so a lot of the humor I thought was really good, but then like the plots themselves weren't as well put together.
Oh, I mean, you touched on it earlier, which is like a lot of this manga is just completely forgettable. Like, because it is like the same joke over and over again in a lot of these chapters. It's very clear that Obata is struggling to pull out new stuff. I agree, like when Z shows up, he really helps the manga because before that, it's like, it's just Grandpa. It's just Grandpa's ugly dog. It's like doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. It seems like it kind of runs out of ideas pretty quick, which isn't surprising because when you get the plot, which is like Cyborg farming Grandpa, you're like, well, where could this possibly go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think though on the topic though, how it does have some good jokes and sometimes it's funny. Let's actually formally get into that. Where Maddie, I'd really love to hear what were the things that you enjoyed about the series.
So yeah, obviously, I mean, because it is Obata, the art is great. And I mean, he made this when he was 20, I think, which is like insane because the artwork is just phenomenal. Like I mentioned, because he usually after this, he worked on more serious stuff. His like humor, his faces that he draws are so funny. Like he's really good at drawing funny expressions and like drawing gags.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the art's just great.
Yeah.
Between the gag stuff and like the really detailed cyborg stuff, it's good.
This is like peak 80s art, but not like in a bad way. Like this just embodies what the style was at the time in like a masterclass. And it's so cool that he's still to this day is still drawing to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Ai is serving some looks,
She's very cute.
She got some cool looks,
Yeah, and I do love the delinquent thing. I
It's
love
so
when
good.
they like the son, like Kay, he like is like, oh, he's a delinquent now, so he just wears sunglasses from that point on, and it's so funny.
And he has like a candy cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love when gag manga have continuity like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Slump, to bring that back, had a scene where the doctor got a haircut as like a joke, and he kept that haircut.
That's great.
And I was like, that's awesome. I love that it wasn't like a weird reset.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
Also, as we talked about the Morking chapter was definitely the best chapter.
So good.
So good. Yeah. I mean, so like Japan loves their frickin' beetles.
Yeah.
It's like this whole thing in Japan. It's like any kind of thing you deal with that has to do with kids, it's always about their beetles and their rhinoceros beetles and blah, blah, blah.
I want to say that that's where like the idea for Pokemon came from.
Yeah, that's totally true. It's a huge thing. And they all know there's this really famous entomologist, Jean-Henri Fabre, who's like, for some reason, really like, I don't know, like all the Japanese kids learn about him. He's French, but like all the Japanese kids learn about him. And like every family has like the designated Fabre. It's like, this is the person in our family who deals with the bug. So it's like whenever there's a cockroach, it's like this is our designated person.
Oh, God.
And it's like, because Japan, I don't think it's technically tropical, but it is like that island weather that makes the bugs really big.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure a lot of like samurai armor is inspired by beetles too,
Really?
they're cool. The beetles are just like a big part of Japanese culture. And yeah, this chapter, it was easily my favorite.
So good.
Because he's like, oh, what happens? Like his bug gets stolen, his rhinoceros beetle gets stolen or something. And then it's because Grandpa's like, I'm going to make this bug into a big, he has like a thing that makes things big all of a sudden. And they're all eating giant watermelon. And he's like, I'm going to make your bug all big. And then he's like, now you have a giant rhinoceros beetle friend.
Yeah, and he just puts on sunglasses.
And he gives him his sunglasses. Yeah.
Chills out.
And the sunglasses shrink when he becomes small again.
Yeah. Oh man, and then there's like an evil stag beetle that gets huge and they have to fight.
Yeah, it was just all around good.
Kay hanging out with like the giant rhino beetle is probably my favorite part of the entire manga.
Yeah, I love that.
Also, like, I gotta say, the ending where it gets into the plot actually was, like, pretty good. I'm gonna be honest, it kind of drew me in a little bit.
The mayor came back. I was not expecting that.
Right?
Yeah, that was cool. It is interesting because it's like, I'm sure he knew that they were ending.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I'm going to give this like a decent ending. And so he kind of made it a little more serious, but it was also done fairly well.
In those final few chapters, you really see Obata's art chops, like, just come out full force.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the best things is that it made him realize that he's much more talented as an artist. I mean, that's the thing is we've read a few series from creators where they really learn the right lessons from their failed. Like, Maddie, are you familiar with Love is War?
Mm-mm.
So, for instance, that's a manga where essentially called Instant Bullet, where it's about high schools with superpowers. But there's a chapter where they just kind of do hijinks for 3 chapters. And that was overwhelmingly the best part. And essentially what he did was like, he just made a full series out of the best part of that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, that happens a lot in games too, where it's like there'll be like a side section or like kind of like a mini game or side quest. And then they'll be like, oh, this is actually better than the main game. So we're just going to take this and turn it into a game. So it's always nice when people can like realize and like have that. It's hard too, like have the willpower to kind of change direction and be like, wait, this is what I'm good at. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Also, one last thing I just wanted to add, like, aside from being drawn really well, I fucking love these cyborg designs. They're very well thought out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool.
You can really see that there's like structure to them and moving pieces, and it's not just like generic robot stuff that wouldn't make sense in real life.
Yeah, it's not just covered in greebles and shit.
And then I think to go a little bit back to what Maddie's point about taking some of the good parts of it and making something new, why don't we pivot into where it could have gone and really talk about how we could have kind of rectified the series and made it a bit better than it was.
All right.
So I'll kick this topic off where Ashley Jordan, as we talked about, like, I think it would have been cool if this had gone more into the weeds about the robotic stuff and just like actually like he clearly had a lot of thought into these machines and maybe just actually say like some of the parts about how these are and not just be like side content. Because I think that's just an interesting topic, though. I know it's a big ask for the offer to actually understand robotics, but that is something that would have been cool to see.
I kind of disagree.
Well, fuck you too, buddy.
Yeah, fuck you. What I think instead, I would have liked to see the series have a little bit more heart. Like, I think that's kind of what High School Family does correctly. It like shows characters really caring about each other. I would have loved to have seen Grandpa like actually genuinely like care about his family and like, yeah, like some character development where he realizes, wow, I'm kind of fucking these people up. Maybe I should try and be better. And you know, he could still pull out stupid hijinks from that. Absolutely. But no, instead he's the same from start to finish. And it just seems like he's an asshole.
Yeah, I think it suffered because it was straddling between being a gag manga and having more complex plots. And it needed to kind of either go in one direction, either need to be shorter and just stupider and funnier, or it needed to go a little more intricate into the plots and designs and complexities of the characters.
If you were to pick a direction, which one would you have gone with?
I would go fun.
Yeah.
Because I think Obata's humor is very good. And I think his humorous drawings are very good. And I don't know if he's as talented as a writer as he is to have gone into that more depth plot.
Yeah, I think this having short, like 12-15, like almost like a spy versus spy style comic where what if it's just like the hijinks of him versus the evil scientist is like the core plot, and then really going into that Chengdu stuff where they're just making weird ass inventions and finding like stupid usages for these like super over engineered devices.
Yeah, I do like one of my favorite things was when the grandpa just like turns people into stuff. He just like is like, oh, sorry, child, here, you're a robot now. Because he turned like one kid, he gave him like a jet plane body or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
Like, shit, I killed this kid. Well, don't worry. I gave him a cyborg body. There we go. He's all right.
Yeah, now he's a little airplane boy.
You're welcome.
But no, I was kind of like thinking, well, what if this went in a One Punch Man kind of direction where Grandpa was just as silly and goofy and like zany as he is here, but like the villains were like super serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Though I do, like most of the time, Dr. What's-His-Face, I was just kind of whatever. But there was one where they found out that like Grandpa's weakness was cold.
Yeah.
And so they were like putting him in an ice bath. And then like the final thing they did was they like fed him shaved ice. That was really like, yeah, I don't know. I just think the humor is where it excelled. So
yeah, that's fair. I do think that going into a shorter gag manga probably would have been the best option here.
But also it's like, I just don't think this concept could last very long.
Yeah.
Again, ultimately, it's one joke, you know?
Yeah.
If this was shorter, you could have gotten a little bit more mileage out of that joke, but eventually it would have gotten old. And yeah, like, I think that if these 31 chapters were like half the length, I would really like this series a lot more.
Yeah, I think it's also, this is a very hard series to read in like a giant block because it clearly was not designed for someone to binge it. But it's like, if you can't binge it, it's like, that's like a very flimsy excuse though.
Yeah.
They sell volumes, so people are going to binge the series.
It doesn't help that it's translated very poorly.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, I don't want to get into all like being angry about bad translations because it was obviously just like a volunteer translation.
Yeah.
It's, you know, because that's all you have. But still, one of the things is like he's an old grandpa and he grumbles a lot. And in Japanese, that sound they make is like written as like MUU, like moo. But it's like supposed to be like a grumble. But like they just left it as moo, and so he just sounds like a cow the whole time. He's just like going moo moo, and I'm like, no, that's not what the sound's supposed to be.
Oh God.
And their speech bubbles, they just forgot to put text in.
Because I feel like there were a couple different fan translators of it. The first one put like these paragraphs of translator notes, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
There was like 3 pages of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just, and I think it's hard too, because obviously like, you know, these are amateur translators working on it. And this is obviously because it's a gag manga, there's lots of jokes, there's lots of puns and things like that, which are hard to translate, especially if you don't have a lot of experience. And I think that it struggled. If you got like a professional translator on it, I think that would improve it quite a bit.
Yeah. Let's have Stephen Paul. Let's get him back in here and just real-time translate.
There were a bunch of times during this where I just straight up had no idea what was being said.
That car chapter, I do not understand what happened in that chapter at all.
It was very confusing.
Yeah, but that's not the fault of the manga.
It's not.
No.
Well, we don't know. Maybe it is.
Yeah, I don't know. But shall we go into miscellaneous thoughts?
Yeah.
Now that we've really discussed what we've changed about it, let's does anyone have any little thoughts that they feel like they haven't a chance to say? My big one is that the scene with the dog driving the car just made me think about how in Italy, when I was in Naples, I saw a dog driving a car, and that was really cute.
Wait, what do you mean?
Literally, the guy was sitting in like a really tiny, like a one-person car, and his dog was sitting in his lap, and his dog literally had its hands on the steering wheel.
Oh, God.
And it was like driving the car with him, and it was really cute.
Italy is way ahead of us.
Right?
One time I got in a taxi in Italy and I started to put my seatbelt on. The guy turned to me, he's like, no, in Italy, we pray.
No, that's like Japan, though, because Japan had really lax seatbelt laws until recently. And the first time I came to Japan in 2007, and like I was with the host family, I got in the back seats, and like all the seatbelts were like covered up with blankets. And then it's like in the countryside, so like the roads are like only wide enough to fit one car, but 2 cars go on them. And there's like these hairpin curves where there's this big mirror, so you can see if someone's coming around the other side of the hairpin curve.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was terrifying. I was like, I might die.
Oh
my God.
So,
oof.
Yeah.
Let's not have that happen.
But now they have seatbelt laws, or at least better ones.
Well, that's good. So another miscellaneous thought, it's not listed here, but I believe MaxyBee brought up that Togashi's first manga was running at the same time as Cyborg Grandpa-G. And he pointed out like there might be a little bit of influence. And I see it because like, yeah, when Kei becomes a delinquent, he looks like Yusuke. He's got like that hair and stuff. And not only that, but even when like, Cyborg Grandpa-G uses his full power or something, he transforms back into like his young self. That absolutely is a plot point in Yu Yu Hakusho, where like, you know, Genkai uses her full power and then turns back into like when her body was like in its prime, you know?
Interesting.
There might be more, but I can't think of them.
That's fine. All right. And then does anyone have a or shall I dive into what MaxyBee's thoughts are?
I'm just trying to think of jokes I thought was funny. There was like a beach episode.
Yeah.
That they were like, he was like gonna ride, he like turned, the dog like turned into a boat and he was like gonna ride the dog, but then all it could do was doggy paddle. I was like, okay, that's pretty cute. There were just a handful of gags that I got like, it was like sensible chuckle every once in a while.
Sensible chuckle. Yeah, same.
I love that Danger 5 reference with the guy reading the magazine. I love that series. We read a manga called Ichigoki Under Control where I wrote down every time I chuckled, and I think it was like 11 times over 27 chapters.
It's like every once in a while this would get me, like there'd be like a gag, or especially just like a funny drawing that I was like, that's good, but
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Not enough.
I would have liked to see this manga rely more on the visual gags, because they're good.
It's such a strong point, yeah. Especially like when he's like drawing like his like fully detailed bodies and like expressions, but he like does really funny expressions on faces. It is kind of unfortunate that he does do such serious stuff now, because his like comedy drawings are really good.
Yeah.
Like obviously his art is incredible in general, but I do think there's a bit of wasted potential in not having him work on comedy stuff.
Well, he's working on a comedy now, though.
Oh, is he?
He's the artist for Shoha Shonen, which is based on Japanese comedy.
Okay. He's a drawer. He's
yes,
the drawer.
He's the drawer.
Artist.
Yeah. He is the drawer. He's the drawer.
It's where I store my socks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, also, before we get into final break, let me just run off some of MaxyBee's thoughts. So I think if we had mentioned it explicitly, this was his debut work. And as MaxyBee says, one of the most important artists in Shonen Jump. The fans' translation was handled by Strenga Etaru for a good bunch of these chapters. A dude who came up with the scene around when I did, giving a very dry literal translation to a lot of classic Jump works that, while clumsy and hard to understand, I think we can agree with that, were the best we could hope for back then. He's long since moved on to doing muscle fetish art on DeviantArt, living his truth.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Maddie, have you heard of the Muscle Girl Cafe in Tokyo?
Is that the one where they slap you?
I know, it's just where all of the waitresses are really strong. And there's like things you can pick up and you get discounts on your food if you can lift certain amounts.
Oh, well,
my God.
I'm a wimp, so that doesn't help.
Our honeymoon in March is going to be in Japan, so my friend has convinced my fiance that we're going to go there.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.
I hope it's fun. I hope you're like building up your muscle so you can get free stuff.
Hell yeah.
Literally what keeps me training these days.
Nice.
And also just mangakas Makoto Niowano and Nobuhashiya Tsuruko. I don't know. I probably butchered that.
Nobuhisa Tsuruoka, right? Tsuruoka.
They cameo at least a couple of times throughout the series, the former being Obato's mentor and the later being his friend. So that's very cute.
Were those
Yeah,
weird
that's cute.
drawings that showed up a couple of times and they were like, this is the mangaka?
Probably.
And I was very confused.
Yeah, I remember he like made fun of one of them or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just typical mangakas being bros.
Dude, this dude's being bros.
Just guys being guys.
Manga dudes being manga bros.
Let's get into the final version. So running these from the community real quick, we have from MaxyBee, how about Robocrop? Is that anything? I think that's pretty good.
I think that's something, yeah.
Bump Up said Cyborg Grandpa-G, the super farmer. Diego, Cyborg Grandpa is not actually Inuyashiki, which, someone messaged us about how it's like, apparently that series kind of ripped off Grandpa-G, but I'm not familiar with it, so unfortunately I can't say much more about it. Dude Rock said, wish it stayed at the farm and worth trying for its art alone. Flufez said, do cyborg farmers raise cyborg sheep? Glornak said, Old Man Kizu augments with grace. Gray said, the future with right to repair, and classic prequel to Run, Daihatsu Tanto. Lord Anubis said, that's where Lao's G comes from.
I was thinking about Lao G a lot during this.
Lao G's from what?
He's from One Piece, and he's like this old man, and he like does this G shape.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also kind of has like similar kind of grandpa fart humor.
So could Ashley be inspired by that?
Huh.
That's possible, honestly. I don't think he's a cyborg, though.
There's so many characters in One Piece. Oh my god.
got from Meru, grandfather, universal neutrality, different alloyed Numia mobile suit, Portal Man. Finally, Cyborg 9 has an ending. Or did Inuyashiki rip the series off? So again, I guess we'll have to check that out at some point.
Yeah.
Real said, I love Mobile Farmer G Grandpa. That was actually G Gundam was the first idea we had for the cover art before we went with bad Mega Man box art.
God, G Gundam rules.
Oh, Inuyashiki is the anime where the guy says, this is a good chapter of One Piece.
Really?
That's, that anime screenshot where it's like One Piece is really good this week.
Yeah, we have a guy who posts that every single week at chapter.
Yeah, that's what from Inuyashiki.
Interesting.
Because I just Googled it and that's all I know about it. And also the fact that it just sounds like Inuyasha.
Yeah, I thought it was Inuyasha at first. And I was like, this doesn't seem related.
Yeah.
And then Spubby said, good thing he didn't get dementia. Scott, how seed of you. No, this is not intended to be a 6-word summary, so skip the. Whoops. Well, too bad. Nah, it's too bad. I already said it. Spike, Chrome Dumb Cyborg causes clear consternation. Spook says, do Cyborg dream of electric sheep? Super Dave, all the jokes all at once.
Yep.
And the Yeti says, absurd automation agriculture aggrandizes average antics. And then, Maddie, what was your 6-word summary?
Cyborgs, kettle dicks, and saggy tits.
Oh, fuck,
nice.
That's a really good one.
Oh my God, that's good.
Let me make sure I have that one down. What was it? Cyborgs?
Cyborgs, kettle dicks, and saggy tits.
God damn, that's I got it. That's definitely gonna be the conversation for best 6-word summary.
It's really good.
Thank you.
Jordan, how about yours?
Kettle dick was so good. But no, that's not.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, that's 6 words.
Yeah.
The kettle dick was so good. Holy shit, that wasn't even one of my intended ones.
There you go, Jordan.
My intended one was Cyborg Boomer ruins his family's lives.
That is true.
Yeah.
You don't even need to say the word zoomer, or you don't even, actually, he's technically not a boomer.
No, he's a member of the greatest generation.
Oh, he's a silent, or?
Because if he was alive right now, he would be about 90 years old.
Because he was in World War II.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest generation.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Silent Generation was the one before that nobody even gives a shit about.
Before.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's because, they're too quiet. You never know what they're doing.
They're just little EP.
They're just quiet.
And they're also dead.
They're shy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, man. And then mine was the inflatable tube-man of Manga, where I feel like it was just kind of flaying around trying to keep your attention with wacky hijinks. But I also have an honorary power word, Jordan, which is, as we talked about, Chingdogu, which really just embodies the series.
Absolutely. If it is what you say it is, just based on what little I've heard of it in this episode, it definitely sounds like it.
Yeah. And then finally, though, this is a hard one. I actually thought this episode would guide my decision. So, Maddie, do you think this series was a flop or not?
It's hard for me to call it a flop because there are a lot of decent things about it, but I don't see myself recommending it to anyone except the Beetle chapter.
Yeah.
If you could just isolate that, then that's what I would recommend for people to read. But I could never see myself being like, you should read Cyborg Grandpa-G. It's just like, as much as there are things I appreciate about it, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. So I guess it's a flop.
Maddie recommends Mora King is what I'm getting.
Yes.
Manga I have just learned about 30 minutes ago.
Maddie's going to read Mora King right now. Well, this is a 5-hour recording, and then we'll come back. What would you recommend someone check out instead?
I mean, honestly, I don't know a whole lot of gag manga. I'm like, if you want to read it.
It doesn't even have to be a manga. It literally could be anything you'd like.
Yeah, go on my website and read all my Metal Gear comics. They're really funny.
Hell yeah.
No, but for manga, everybody should read more Osamu Tezuka. That's all I ever say every day.
I'm unfamiliar with that one, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Osamu Tezuka?
What? Like Astro Boy? Blackjack?
Sorry, I thought that was the name of one manga in particular.
Oh, no. Like the artist I just went to a blackjack exhibit and he died when he was 60. He was a surgeon. He drew 20 pages of manga a day. He is the most insane person who has ever lived. He is so talented. His stuff is so deep and thoughtful and incredible. And people just really need to read more of his stuff because not enough people have read it.
Blackjack is so good.
Blackjack is my favorite and it is phenomenal, and it's one thing that's nice too about it is it's episodic. So every story in it is done in 25 pages and then you can put it down or you can read another one.
Yeah.
And how about you, Jordan?
I wish I liked this series more, but I gotta call it a flop. It's hard to get through a lot of the time. It's hard to really recommend it. The joke absolutely wears thin. Yeah, I don't see how this series could have kept going. And yeah. As a recommendation, fuck it. Speaking of Tezuka, what about Astro Boy?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are vintage.
Yeah, I just finished reading Urasawa's Pluto. I've never read Urasawa before.
Pluto, it's getting an anime adaptation. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's like in 3 days. But
Fuck
before
yeah.
that, I also read the original story because I first read Astro Boy like whenever Dark Horse started publishing it in like 2003. But yeah, it's cool. If you do read Pluto or the anime, I also definitely recommend checking out the original story it's based off.
Yeah.
Because
Sounds
Tezuka
good.
freaking rocks.
Or even Mega Man, which directly influenced.
I'm coming into your recommendations to re-recommend Tezuka.
I love it. All right. I would say that this series is definitely a flop.
Yeah.
This was a slog. It just got old, as we talked about, maybe if the chapters were half the length. So I want to recommend...
Just like Grandpa.
Yes, they really sagged, just like Grandma. So I have 2 recommendations. My first one is Service Wars. It's by the creator of Matama Security, which was a series we covered. And it's pretty much a shonen battle manga about people being the best people in the service industry. So like they'll be fighting each other and then he'll give them like a back massage and they're like, oh my God, he used a secret technique, the hot towel. How's he going to come back from that? He's too relaxed now to fight back.
I like that.
That sounds pretty cute.
It's really, really stupid. My other one is Red Cat Ramen, which is essentially the spiritual successor of High School Family, which is a really good gag manga, but essentially what if all the characters were Gomez? And it's just about a bunch of talking cats running a ramen store. And it's just really, really adorable.
What's that called?
Red Cat Ramen. It's not like a Zootopia thing. These are just cats that can talk. And they're even like, yeah, cats can talk when they need to. But if they're like have a happy family and they're not working, they don't talk.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's really, really
I'm gonna
cute.
Cry.
I'm going to tell my girlfriend about this. She would love it.
Yeah, that's why I thought, particular Maddie, I thought you'd...
I love cats.
And it's about the one human who works in the ramen shop.
That's really cute.
And so, though, I guess, though, since this is a normal flop, not a certified flop, I think we would say this is not the worst thing we have ever had to read in our lives.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's just boring. A lot of it, like you mentioned, is just like a slog. So it's like fine. And there were some really good parts, but like 80% of it was just like,
Yeah.
All right, then let's go to shoutouts where we can hear some great stuff from what Maddie's working on. So on that note, Maddie, thank you so much for being on the show. This was a blast. I honestly, sometimes there are recordings I wish we had another hour to record, but I want to be respectful of your time. Do you mind telling people where they can get more of you on the internet?
Yeah, so probably my main thing is like Twitter, which, you know, despite everything, I'm still on there.
Yeah.
My username is othatsraspberry. That's the letter O, that's raspberry. It is a Simpsons reference. And I'm also lots of other places under that name. I am a Twitch streamer. I have a website, othatsraspberry.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky, YouTube. But people know me for, I make Metal Gear comics.
Great Metal Gear comics, by the way.
A lot of them. I have made over 300 of them. I also sometimes make Resident Evil comics, Silent Hill comics, and various other video games.
Were you inspired? There was like a person who made these really good Persona 4 comics back in the day.
Because I know they did a bunch of Metal Gear ones, but like I only got into Metal Gear like a year and a half ago. So I remember them from like their Phoenix Wright stuff back when I was in like high school. But I was like, I never knew their Metal Gear stuff. I just started playing the games and started making comics.
They're so good.
That's awesome.
They're so good.
Thank you.
I love your comics.
Do you have a favorite comic?
Oh gosh. You know, it's one of those things where sometimes, like most of the time, I like look at my stuff and I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing. How did I do these? Every once in a while, though, I'll look at one and it'll make me laugh a lot.
I love your Big Boss Himbo comics.
Yeah, I think Peace Walker might have been one of my best eras of comics. I think that's when I really started kind of getting it. Just any of my comics where Big Boss is an idiot and Kaz has to deal with it. Those are good stuff, I think. But I'm also a Twitch streamer. So if you like watching people play video games, I'm still actually, like I said, I just started Metal Gear recently, so I'm still going through it. I'm on V right now. I have a couple left over.
Nice.
But yeah, I used to stream usually 2 to 3 times a week, and I also stream drawing sometimes. I have a YouTube archive of my streams if you want to watch me play through Metal Gear or whatever. Yeah, and I have a Patreon, Ko-fi if you like my stuff. And like I said, I'm also community manager over at Grasshopper. So follow Grasshopper on Twitter because I'm always doing stuff over there. We are currently promoting our Shadows of the Damned remaster.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's I think. And I also mentioned like I'm like part of the the greater One Piece podcast universe. I used to do episode artwork, but once I moved to Japan, time zones no longer allowed that.
Aw.
But I'm still very much in their community and I love them very much. And they're just a big old group of fantastic people doing good podcasts. So look into any of their stuff.
Yeah, Jordan and I were on an episode of the One Piece podcast, which was awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, I feel like you'd love this podcast by friend of the show, Luke, called Domance Dawn, where they go through One Piece and recast One Piece characters with Simpsons characters.
Oh, yeah. I know the guy that does the art for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Because he's in like the One Piece podcast staff Discord, and so I see his art for it, which is really funny. It kind of reminds me of when they did like the whole Akira as Simpsons.
Yeah, Bart Kira.
There's like a whole Bart Kira. It's like that. Like anything is good if you put Simpsons on it.
Yes, and I heard Simpsons is good again, so I have to go verify. That's what Super Eye Patch Wolf told us.
Oh, that's what Super Eye Patch Wolf said. But it's good in a different way. So, no, that's a good video. Also watch Super Eye Patch Wolf. Let's go ahead and plug him too, because his videos are great.
We've been trying a long time to get him on this show, so I'm trying to work my magic for episode 100, but we'll see.
I hope you do.
David basically started this podcast as a secret way to meet Super Eye Patch Wolf.
To meet Super Eye Patch Wolf. That's cool. I hope it's successful.
It's true. It's true. My one regret is I didn't hit him up when I was living in Ireland. But that was also 10 years ago before I think you made any content, so that would just be with some guy at that point.
Maybe you did meet him and it just didn't register.
He just had normal colored hair. No.
He was just Wolf. He wasn't Super Eye Patch.
Yeah. It's when he had both eyes. But I also want to say props to Jordan for making the opening ending theme, being a great co-host and helping with the editing.
Thank you, David, for all the hard work that you do on this podcast.
No problem. Props to Merliel for the awesome cover art. You can find her online at Lyle Murr, and Nigel for being our generous art benefactor. Thanks to Dylan with his assistance for editing. Find his podcast, Anime Context, at animecontext.com. Thanks to Tucker and MaxyBee for assistance with pronunciation, translation, other miscellaneous research. Find us on Twitter at ShonenFlopcast and our website, ShonenFlop.com. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever else you get our podcast, or our Tumblr, Shonen-Flop, which Jordan is kicking ass at running.
Hell yeah.
And come join the Shonen Flop Discord. It's open to everyone, patron or not. Come hang out with us and talk about anime, games, or whatever else is on your mind. You can find a link to it in our show notes or on our site. And if you've been enjoying the podcast and want to help us keep going, consider subscribing to our Patreon. We wouldn't be able to keep it running without their support. You get a ton of awesome perks, including, Jordan, what did we drop in October for our patrons?
We are dropping the second episode of our coverage on how to make manga, how to make Jump the right way. Is the right way to make Jump.
Something like I think it's the right way to make Shonen Jump.
The right way to make Jump with Joey Weiser.
Yes, with Emmy
nominated, with Eisner Award nominated.
Yay! Congratulations, Joey.
Eisner Award nominated artist in front of the show, Joey Weiser. Joey Ashley Maddie, fun fact, he created art for my wedding, which was super dope.
Oh, I wonder if I saw it. Did he might have shared? I feel like I remember him.
I think
drawing.
He said he was waiting till the wedding. It's a box of animal crackers.
Oh, he might have mentioned it. That sounds familiar.
I can send you a picture if you like.
I would love to. Joey's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad that we had him back on. And then you could also be listening into our recordings live or listening to the warm-up audio. Find out at patreon.com/ShonenFlop. And speaking of perks, I'm going to read off our patrons real quick. All right, I want to give a big shout out. First, I want to give a shout out to our Dolphin Dad patron. The fetus knows the necessity of speed. Then moving on down to the Ravioli tier, where you get weekly pictures of my puppy Ravioli. We have Chris, Eva, Josh Robinson, Karate Chopsticks, Rachel, my wonderful fiance. She was so brave. She normally goes to bed at 9. She stayed up till 11:30 to see me when I got home, and that's love. And Trevor Schechner. Moving on down to the King of the Forest, we have 090Z, Bandit Stoof,
my girlfriend,
Chad Mason, Shell Florine, Jacob Andrew Galloway, Kirby Mon, Marty, Max Baker, Not Jeff, T Wolfwood, a name that is written in Japanese, which I can't read that.
Oh,
I was about to say, do you want to take a stab at it?
Hey, let me see if oh wait, can you paste it somewhere?
Yeah, I'm gonna paste it in our chat.
Oh my god, we have somebody who can read Japanese. That's great.
I hope I can read. I hope I'm not gonna bear it.
Jody. Oh, that's adorable. And I also want to give a big thank you to our Galactic Ball Federation officers and our King of the Forest. Maddie, I think you are our third guest, because we also had Oni Dino, if you're familiar with him.
Mm-mm.
He is the editor for Super Eye Patch Wolf's podcast.
Oh, wow. So you are getting closer.
I know. I got to message him at some point. But he's a cool dude. That was not why we had it on. That's just like the famous thing he does. But yeah, and then I think he's also a professional translator. I'll have to double check. Dylan.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
He's a really cool guy. He was like, next time you're in Denver, we'll hang out. I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, and then Jordan, anything else you want to toss in?
Yeah, first of all, Maddie, thank you for being here. Please tell Suda I said hi.
Okay.
And yeah, check out Mission Ignition, a podcast where me and some friends watch a horrible TV show from the 90s that only I remember. And that's it. Go Birds.
All right. Well, go Birds. All that's left now is let's go to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next Monday as we give our first thoughts on Temaku Cinema. This has been David.
This has been Jordan.
This has been Maddie.
And you've been listening to Shonen Flop.
Keep on flopping, floppers.
Yeah.
Reaper, Reaper. That's what people call. Anyway.
That was the best song from the second game.
It was just this anniversary of the second game.
Really?
Oh my God.
Happy anniversary, No More Heroes 2.
Yeah.
Oh, happy anniversary. Suda, if you want to come on the show anytime. I don't know
Anytime.
if Suda speaks any English.
He does,
We'll make it work.
does not.
Okay. We'll make it work.
We'll figure it out.